Good morning. I wanted to do a quick video about a topic that a live stream viewer brought up last night, being that Los Angeles in California is the beginning, it's the opening salvo of state entities shutting off resources to people in order to comply with the directives. The directives being things like COVID-19 compliance, but there will be other things that come up, and the purpose of this video is not to say I told you so. It's very far from that. I am surprised at how the pace at which this is accelerating. I was surprised originally that it hadn't all already happened years ago, but now that we have entered the beginning, I am surprised at the pace, and have been the entire time, the pace at which we're catching up. It is not a case of I told you so. It is a case of that I want to help you, and I want you to understand that I have nothing. I have no intelligence, and I have no foresight, and I possess nothing, and I'm just stepping the way that is made clear to me, and that's it. And that's all that these are. I want to try to help if I can. So the situation with California is in seemingly in contrast to other municipalities attempting to hold off from getting utilities shut off, or in some cases even arranging to pay utility companies to keep power on. It would seem in stark contrast to a state threatening to shut off utilities for non-compliance with directives, with world government directives. But they're actually not. They're actually the same thing. They're just different sides of the same coin. And that is the intervention of and the continued support of centralization of the resources that you are required to use to live. Now, you didn't have to have everything centralized, but that's the way that people have voted. We vote with our dollar, right? Isn't that the saying? Well, everyone's voted to become enslaved by evil, and so this is where we're at now. And this is the first manifestation of it. And a viewer brought it up last night, and I wanted to look into it and see what they were talking about. And sure enough, they were correct, and that California has begun to threaten to shut off utilities to people that are in non-compliance with COVID-19. Now, this is the reason that I have pleaded with you to begin now to take steps to create resources for yourself that are independent of the control paradigm, so that you can have them available to you when things get really bad, because this isn't going to stop. It's going to continue, and it's going to continue to accelerate. And I understand that, at some point here, we'll be going on a year of me trying to warn people and help them to understand what's going on. And the entire time has been marked with, like mockery. And that's fine. And I wouldn't expect anything else. I would only expect that. But just for your mercy, I wish that you would reconsider. I wish you would understand that, like, I don't have anything that I want from you, that some kind of angle that's hidden here. I just want to help you to see the world as it is. And the reality is that you have resources besides utilities that are more important, such as food, that have been entirely centralized, and you are incredibly vulnerable. And you're going to figure that out whether you want to or not. And when that happens, it's going to be pretty high stakes, and there's going to be some severe consequences. And so one of the things that I've tried to encourage is for people to build food forests for themselves is good, but for others, for all people, that's the most important part. And it's very tricky to do so these days because of the situation with property being legally captivated by the current paradigm, meaning that everything all land has to be under title. There's not really such thing as public land. If it is public, held in the public by the state, then it's utilized for other purposes that aren't really public. And so it's difficult to make something that's a resource that's available to all people without it being swallowed up. And a private entity doesn't work because of your lack of perpetuation and the profit blood that must be constantly regenerated in order to keep the entity alive. And so that's the reason that in trying to flesh out this concept, I asked for volunteers to make a nonprofit organization, and they did that despite all logical odds that would preclude that from happening. They pulled it off. And so there's an organization that is called WildCore. They have a web domain that is wild-core.org, and you can reach them at info@wild-core.org. This is an organization of volunteers. They're very small and they have very limited resources, but their intent is to acquire land through the nonprofit model. They are a 501c3. They're chartered in Montana, and they are pending IRS recognition for federal exemption. They have state exemption currently. The federal exemption takes a little bit longer. Anyway, they are poised, probably very close to getting their recognition, and it couldn't be soon enough because they really, should have been started a long time ago. But it doesn't have to be the WildCore. This is just a entity that works with the restrictions and parameters that we have put in place on ourselves, and works in between that framework to provide a public resource. And so their goal is to make forests of food, fruit and nut trees for all people, and to give them over to cities and municipalities and build them right outside of those jurisdictions, so that inhabitants of cities can leave and have food during food shortages, and during times of peace and normalcy, they can utilize them just like a national park to eat from. Now, it does have certain restraints. You can't take the food out. You have to use the food that's there in there while you're seeking refuge. You can't go in there and build a building or a structure. You can't take food out and engage in commerce and things like that. You can't bring things in to the refuge to sell and engage in commerce, things that would jeopardize its status as nothing more than refuge of food as a backup for people and to provide nourishment and mercy to you during this process. And that's the entire point of it. And when I tried to explain this last year, people were really put off by it and really upset. But as we move on, you're going to figure out that this is necessary. And I hope that what we're seeing here with the utilities is, in the situation in California, utilities being cut off for not being COVID compliant, I hope that it's enough of a wake-up call to get you to act now. Because where we're going, you're going to lose resources, and it's going to become more difficult to produce this. And this system, as it is with a tax-exempt organization, is a way to facilitate this process using the tools that you have now. In the future, it'll be a lot more difficult. And although you can propagate forests by cuttings and things like that, it takes years, especially for fruit bearing. And so I hope that you understand how significant and alarming the situation is, and how it's going to happen whether or not you have what you need or not. And so if you want to have what you need, this is something that should be done. And it doesn't have to be the WildCore. It could be anything. You can make a forest by yourself on your own personal property. I would ask that you make it with the aim of becoming available to the needy in the future at some time when that situation presents itself, and to plant trees in abundance to allow mercy of people. I love you.